Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Bundesliga Show. Obviously, we said just last night that it was the last show of the season, but we're back the very same, the next evening, basically to do an awards evening show, basically just to round up what's been a fantastic Bundesliga season. And we basically had the opportunity to invite a few guests on the show, as you'll be able to see below me right now, the lads from the German Fitbaw Podcast, who I had a bit of fun with on their podcast just the other week. So I thought, let's get them on our show as well. So we just about managed to squeeze this show in for everyone's diary. So Roy and Colin, welcome. Thanks very much for joining us both. Do you want to just, either one of you, quickly give a shout out to your podcast and a little bit of info on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's just there's about 5 of us now. Just we mix between probably about 2 or 3 of us each week, and we go through mostly Bundesliga, but we've dipped into Zweite and Dritte Liga a lot more now, and we're trying to expand all 3. Everything's just at German Fitbaw Pod on all social media, and you'll find us there, Apple and Spotify and Anchor and all these things. So it's good bit of fun, good bit of quizzes at the end, and yeah.
Good stuff. Yeah, well, I can testify that the quizzes are good fun. The Pokal one, I loved it, to be fair. I was a bit disappointed in my answers in the end, but it was a good bit of fun, so I enjoyed doing that. But yeah, anyway, back to this particular episode tonight. Hopefully we'll get a few people joining us live at some point. It's basically to do an awards evening for the Bundesliga. So we've got 6 awards that we've all pre-prepared, or I hope we have anyway, that so individual awards. So the awards this evening will be a few traditional ones. So Player of the Season will kick us off. We'll then have Breakout Star, the team of the season. So we'll present an 11 that we think obviously were team of the season, best goal, blooper / mistake of the season, and biggest flop / worst signing or most disappointing signing anyway, which will round us off. So without further ado, we can just get cracking straight away. And this might be one of the more easy categories, so I'll introduce this one. So maybe the most important one of all is Player of the Season. So the ultimate prize, the ultimate kind of sign of recognition from all your peers and all those fans as well in the Bundesliga. Certainly a few obvious candidates for this award, and I'll probably upset plenty of people with my selection. I thought I'd try and be not a bit rogue, but I mean, it's obviously it should be Lewandowski, shouldn't it? But I'll kick us off. My selection's actually Andre Silva. 28 league goals, obviously the second most in the league behind Lewandowski. Second most shots in the league. Spearheaded his side to almost top 4. And broke the club's goal scoring record as well. So yeah, for me, I'm saying Andre Silva. I'll stick to my guns on that, and then we'll go around the lads now. So we'll ping it straight over to you, Mark, and then we'll go around.
Yeah, I mean, it seems as though great minds think alike, Rory, because I also wanted to go off the beaten track a little bit with this one. But yeah, I've also gone for Andre Silva. I mean, I think everyone that watches the show knows that I have been a massive fan of Frankfurt this season. Like the way they played football has just been brilliant. Obviously, some other players like Kostic and the like have also been fantastic. But yeah, I mean, 28 league goals. He went to Frankfurt to try and rebuild his career, and he well and truly did it, didn't he, this season? But yeah, I mean, obviously it wasn't enough to fire them into the Champions League places, which from my personal point of view, I'm pretty gutted about, really. I'm not a Frankfurt fan, but I really wanted them to get in that top 4. But yeah, I mean, fantastic season for him. It's going to be interesting to see if some of the bigger fish go in for him over the summer.
Okie doke. Right, so two votes already for Andre Silva, not what I expected. So straight over to our guests who might come up with some more sensible suggestions. So we'll go to you, Colin, to start with.
Well, I thought about going for Benito Raman, but I decided to be a bit boring and go for go for Robert Lewandowski instead, but I'm glad neither of you two said that, because I was expecting it just to be Lewandowski. So at least it seems like I'm actually being original by choosing Lewandowski. And apparently the official player of the season isn't Lewandowski either. So
Yeah.
Wow.
as it stands, I'm the only person I've heard actually say that Lewandowski is the player of the season. So I'm going to take the credit for that. I just don't. I mean, I don't like going for the obvious option, and particularly like a Bayern player, because they are the best team. I think it's easier to perform well with the players around you. But Lewandowski, just the season he's had has been totally unprecedented. Like 41 goals. I think it's really a no-brainer. Like, it's no player's done that before. Breaking records, even into his 30s. It's just. I'd love to have a more original pick, but I'm going to go for Lewandowski breaking the all-time record in 29 games as well, which a lot of people forget that he did miss games, and he's managed to get 41 goals in 29 games. That's just excellent.
That is the smart pick, and at the moment it's an original pick because you're the only one who's gone for him. So we'll move on to the last vote of this round. So yeah, over to you, Roy, for the last pick.
See, I've got four. I think for everything I've got like 3 or 4 players written down. I still can't decide. It's taken me this long. I think I'm going to go against the curve as well and say a player that none of you have said so far. And generally, it's because of a goal he scored in the last game of the season, because I generally think he brought this team to where they are. And Max Kruse, for me, has been outstanding when he has played. Obviously, he's had a bit of time-out injury, but he scored some important goals, and that no more important than the goal he scored at the weekend. You know, I just think he's been the one that's completely captained that side to. Well, not captains, but like he's taking that side to where they are. He's taking that side to be consistent in the league, how they kept that this season. I just think Lewandowski's obviously the player of the season, but if you want to give a different player, I'm going for Max Kruse. Other notable mentions for me was Stefan Ortega and Leon Goretzka, but I thought I'd go against the grain like you guys and not be original like Colin, picking Lewandowski. But yeah, Max Kruse for me, just incredible.
Yeah, we're massive fans of Max Kruse on the show as well. Yeah, so I can't totally disagree with you. I think, we obviously did our preview the other night, and we were massively praising Max Kruse. We're big fans on the show as well, that's for sure. Yeah, so can't disagree with you on that one. So let's move on to the second category, which is obviously the Breakout Star. So obviously the Breakout Star has got to be the player who probably was quite unknown at the start of the season, probably a young player, but like any player that probably was the surprise of the season, maybe. So yeah, I'm gonna start this one off, and for me, it's got to be Florian Wirtz from Bayer Leverkusen. I mean, obviously, he was 17 when the season started. Obviously, now he's 18, but he got 6 goals. I mean, obviously, he was playing in a Leverkusen side who you would probably say underachieved over the season. Really, they didn't have a great year considering the expectations. But for me, he was excellent in that attacking midfield role, and I think he's got a massive future ahead of him. We could potentially be looking at the next Kai Havertz on the cards for me with Florian Wirtz. So yeah, that's how I'm going to kick it off. So over to you, Rory. Who would you say was your breakout star?
So there are certainly a few candidates. Well, I won't say my honourable mentions yet because I might take them off Colin or Roy. So I'll keep my mouth shut and just say the one that I've actually picked. As much as I want to talk about other people, but so my pick is actually Silas Wamati-Guta of VfB Stuttgart. So he scored 11 goals for Stuttgart and 4 assists. Obviously, the pacey winger, what was superb for large periods of the season until his season was ended by an ACL injury, or certainly a knee. I'm not sure if it was ACL, could have been PCL and anything like that, but it was cut short, unfortunately. But he was one of the reasons why Stuttgart was so exciting to watch, alongside Nico Gonzalez and players like that. And then it was like the second kind of coming of Stuttgart that came in the second half of the season. But yeah, he was brilliant to watch. Real attacking talent, up and down the wing all the time. Really ambitious, loves to take players on. So yeah, for that reason, maybe not a whole season's worth of football, so might not get picked necessarily for a whole season's worth. But yeah, that's my pick.
Yeah, fair shout. And what about you, Colin? Who was your breakout star?
I'd gone for Wangatuka as well. I just thought he was like in a promoted side. He was very impressive, particularly because last season in the Zweite Bundesliga, he hadn't completely stuck out. Like, he'd been quite inconsistent, and I think it was quite impressive that he sort of eclipsed his own form in the second division in the Bundesliga. Because even as a promoted team, I don't think there was too much expected of him. So not just since Rory went for Wangatuka as well, I'll sort of name some honourable mentions as well. Just I think the Stuttgart side in general had quite a few breakout stars, like Kalajdzic.
Yeah.
He's another one like Wangatuka. His form last season it didn't stick out because he was injured for so long, so there wasn't too much expected of him this season, and he's really contributed a lot of goals. I mean, his aerial threat is quite apparent by his height, but he's also managed to break into the Austria side. And me and Roy, obviously, watching Scotland firsthand, managed to see his aerial threat with the double that he managed for Austria against Scotland. And just the other players for Stuttgart, like Borna Souza, just I think that they've been a surprise package side, and I'll go for Wangatuka, but they've got other players as well.
Yeah, good. And what about you, Roy? Who have you gone for in that one?
So Colin went with Stuttgart. I'm going with Wolfsburg. I think Maxence Lacroix.
Yeah,
Lacroix. I'm not entirely sure. I want to say him, but I'm going to go with Riedel Baku. I think you could go with a lot of Wolfsburg's team, but Riedel Baku for me, he played every game. 10 million from Mainz. I mean, last year he played, but I like you were all saying with the players before, they hadn't really stood out the year before, and this year Riedel Baku for me has just completely stood out. Considering the price and the price tags a lot of players are going for these days, to play every game, coming into a brand new side, a side that ended up in the top 4 as well. For me, Riedel Baku just was unplayable for his age as well, and completely worth what was 10 million euros at the time in the summer. But again, with Lacroix, I think he was unbelievable as well. Probably just misses out for me to Baku, but I think the whole of the Wolfsburg backline could probably get in anyone's team of the season. For me, I would go for Riedel Baku, outstanding to play all those games.
Yeah, great shout. Yeah.
Okie doke. Right. So the next award, bunch of awards then we're gonna go through team of the season. So best way to do this is to probably just pick an order, and we'll just go position. So keeper, we'll say all our keepers, and left back, 2 centre backs, right back. We've gone with the 4-3-3 formation. Is that all right with you, Roy and Roy and Colin? Yeah. So we'll go me, Mark, Colin, Roy.
I've got a 3-4-3. I'll try and.
Okay. We'll figure it out.
I'll put one of my midfielders in the back 4. That's fine.
Perfect. And we can do as much or as little explaining as we want to. Maybe we'll do it once all the teams have been announced anyway. So I'll kick it off. So my goalkeeper is Stefan Ortega of Arminia Bielefeld. So on to you, Mark.
Yeah, I've also gone for Ortega. I think it's not been a great season for goalkeepers, but he's just been unbelievable, hasn't he, really?
Good stuff. On to you, Colin.
I've gone for Ortega as well. Yeah, 11 clean sheets. 11 clean sheets in a promoted side. You can't really argue with that. I think without Ortega, it's quite possible that Bielefeld wouldn't have stayed up. So
very possible.
Go for
full house or not, Roy?
A full house. Going to Ortega as well. I think Neuer's not getting as much praise as he probably should have. I think compared to last season, he's had a fantastic season. Yeah. He's a bit under the weather last year with some of his performances, but this year he's been quite pivotal to Bayern retaining the title. But I'm going to have to go Ortega. Him keeping Bielefeld up almost single-handedly this season has been outstanding.
Correct. So yeah, full house there. I think that's probably where the similarities might stop. So in my back four, we'll just go through defensive, then midfield, then forwards. Might be easier that way. So my back four consists of Trimmel at right back of Union, Lacroix for Wolfsburg, partnered by Ndicka from Frankfurt, and Kostic at left back. So a bit of a mixture of everyone. Hard to pick a left back, really, even though Kostic is more of a left wing back. Some outstanding left backs out there. And I think Trimmel has been superb as well. So on to you, Mark. Do you want to tell us your back four?
Yeah, I think, Rory, you can tell that we've been doing the show together this season, because I think I've actually chosen 3 of the same 4 players as you. I've also gone for Trimmel because, I mean, obviously, again, we're big fans of Union Berlin on the show. Obviously, Max Kruse we mentioned, but, I mean, Trimmel, 10 assists from right back this year. I just think he's been brilliant. You know, he gets so many balls into the box. He's 34 now, so he's coming towards the end, but great player. Then I've gone for Lacroix, who I think has just been unbelievable as well. Then I've actually gone for Konate because actually Leipzig ended up with the best defense, so I thought I had to put a Leipzig guy in there. I think he's been the best. I think Upamecano hasn't been that great this season, to be honest. And then, I put Kostic as left back, personally.
Oh, pardon me, good stuff. Right, so will we see any some different players then from the 2 German Fitbaw lads? So over to you, Colin, first of all.
I'll go against the grain. I'm going to stick with my formation if that's fine. I'm going to stick with 3 at the back.
Fine, yeah,
I was slightly struggling with centre back, so I've gone for sort of 2 full backs and a centre back. I've gone for Trimmel as well. Originally, we'd tweeted out our best lineups from our podcast, and I'd put Tapsoba in, but I've taken him out and put Trimmel in because I think with the season that Union have had, they deserve one player, and Trimmel was the captain. The amount of assists he's contributed, I think Kruse as well, but Trimmel for consistency and what he's offered, getting his first goal in the Bundesliga as well, he deserves a mention. Similarly to you guys, I've also gone for Lacroix. As a 21-year-old, he just fitted seamlessly into the Bundesliga. I think a big reason for Wolfsburg's great defensive record and Champions League qualification. And on the left-hand side, I've gone for Christian Gunter, who I think everyone in our podcast is a big fan of, and we're delighted to see him get in the Germany squad. Just Freiburg, they're just been slap bang mid-table side this season, but Gunter's consistency, I believe he's played every minute of football this season as well. So just for consistency, and for a long time, he's a player I think that's gone under the radar, and I think he's, with the international call-up, he started to get noticed finally. Yeah. So that's good to see. So I've included Gunter in.
Good stuff. So is that your back 3 then? Yeah, named there.
Yeah.
Okie doke. Roy, have you got a 3-4-3 or did you?
No, I'm the same as you. 4-3-3.
4-3-3, delightful.
4-3-3. But so I've gone for Baku, Riedel Baku, of course, my breakout star, along with my other breakout star, Lacroix. I'm going with a Union player, Marvin Friedrich. I think Friedrich's been pivotal to how well Union have played this season. Trimmel's obviously been one of Union's standout players once again, but I just think Friedrich's really stood out this season as well. And obviously going for Christian Gunter, who's probably one of my favourite German players now, pushing up against Jonas Hector. I think just the double he scored against Schalke recently just kind of pivotalised how versatile he is, and I think he's been another one, like Colin said, completely under the radar past couple of seasons, and he's had his kind of moment to shine this year, and he's been fantastic.
Good stuff. Right, well, this is probably where I'm quite envious of Colin, because I feel like I needed more players in midfield to pick from. I don't feel like 3 was enough, because there was some outstanding performers. So as 3 centre midfielders, I've gone with Leon Goretzka of Bayern Munich, Dani Olmo of RB Leipzig, and Xavier, I think that's his first name, Schlager of Wolfsburg. So that, I mean, for me, that is a mixture of power, class, and with a good handful of goals, actually, with Goretzka and Olmo have definitely put a few goals away. So that's my three. Mark, what are yours?
Yeah, for me, I've actually gone for Goretzka as well. I mean, I'm a big fan of him on the show. I think he's like a real world-class player, Goretzka, without doubt. And then I've actually gone for Thomas Mueller as well. Like some would say he's not really a midfielder. He's obviously plays behind the striker. But I mean, 20 assists this season. He kind of went under the radar a little bit, didn't it? I mean, what a season he's had. Getting recalled for the German side, which is a long time overdue in my opinion, because like he's a really class player and always has been, really. And then the other one I've gone for is Borna Souza. Actually, I had to put a Stuttgart guy in there because I've just been so impressed with them. He got 10 assists as well this season. I think obviously his set pieces have just been a constant threat and a big part of the reason why Kaladzic had such a good season, obviously up top, getting 16 goals for Stuttgart. So yeah, that's my midfield.
On to you, Colin. So you've got a bit more room for manoeuvre here, haven't you?
Yeah, with the benefit of my four-man midfield, I've got some wide players. I've got Wamangituka, as I mentioned, as the breakout star. He's on the right. On the left, I've got Rafael Guerreiro, who I think has been impressive so far. Just last few seasons for Dortmund, he's maybe not got the headlines that Haaland and Sancho have got, but I think Rafael Guerreiro's always been consistent, even when the side's been struggling. He contributed 5 goals and 11 assists. And in centre midfield, I've got Marcel Sabitzer and Leon Goretzka.
Good stuff. Straight over to you then, Roy. What's your 3-man midfield looking like?
So I'm actually a bit shocked that no one's actually included Jude Bellingham. I'm going to go for Jude Bellingham for one of mine. I thought. I was asked. I'm now thinking about it. Surprised no one picked him for the breakout star either. But I think he's been it's maturity as a player, shown so much this season for Dortmund. I've been really impressed with him. So I'm popping him in there. It's a very left wing shout coming from Eli Skiri of FC Köln. I generally think Köln would have been relegated without him. The field's been really, really vital to them actually getting that playoff spot because they've not been good enough. And I think he covered the most distance as a Bundesliga player this season. And my other one isn't quite a centre mid, more of a left wing, left mid, but I'm going to stick him in, Vincenzo Grifo. 9 goals, 10 assists for Freiburg this season. Got a very left wing Freiburg side coming up here, but I think Grifo's just been outstanding. Not even played all the games and 9 goals, 10 assists. That's really, really impressive for me.
Yeah, some good shouts in there actually. Bellingham was one of my honourable mentions for Breakout Star. Yeah. They're definitely a good shout there. He's had a superb season. Came into his own. Certainly in the second half of the season, didn't he? And he gave Man City some wobblers as well. If only that goal stood, what a shame it didn't. Anyway, leaving my Manchester rivalries aside, we'll finish off then with our strikers for team of the season. So again, very difficult for me to put together, but it's fairly obvious ones, I guess. So I've gone for Silva, Lewandowski, and Haaland as my forward 3. No room for my young player of the season at all. So I'm not sure how that works, but that's my forward 3 anyway. Mark, what's yours?
Yeah, I mean, it's really, really hard to argue with that, to be honest with you. I mean, obviously, Lewandowski with 41 goals, he has to be like in the number 9 position. Then, I put my kind of wide forwards down as Andre Silva, 28 goals. And then, obviously, Haaland with 27 goals. I think, obviously, honourable mentions for like Kramaric, who was great, and Weghorst as well. They both went over 20 goals this season. Probably Kaladzic also deserves a mention, but it's got to be those 3, hasn't it?
Straight over to you, Colin, for yours.
Yeah, I've gone with the same. Gone to Haaland, Lewandowski, and Silva. Yeah, so if my maths is correct, they've scored 96 league goals with 2 of them this season. So it's quite hard not to stick those in, even though there has strikers. I think strikers is always the most difficult position to put. There's so many in the Bundesliga, so many great strikers like Weghorst and Kramaric, like you mentioned. Other ones, I mean, I feel really bad for leaving out Thomas Mueller. I think he's had a great season, but it's so hard to pin him down to a position that I was struggling to fit him in. But Weghorst as well, he's had a great season and a big factor in Wolfsburg managing to get Champions League qualification. But yeah, I've gone with those three.
Good stuff. So will we have a full quota on this? He's shaking his head.
I think we're going to be the same. I'm the same. Holland, Lewandowski, and Silva. Just it can't be anyone else. I mean, in my mind that I posted the other day on Twitter, I had Sancho in instead of Silva, but I just think you have to have Silva in there. For me, you just have to have Silva in there. So I'm going for Holland, Lewandowski, Silva, but it's honourable mention for Sancho.
Brilliant stuff. Well, I mean, we pretty much agreed on a good majority of it. Obviously, there's going to be differences, but there's some absolute flames of teams, aren't there? Team of the season there. So hard to pick from, but I think we've all done a fairly good job for sure. So yeah, Mark, over to you for the next award of the evening.
Yeah, so the next award is going to be for goal of the season. Yeah, so obviously the Bundesliga is famous for goals. It's famous for great goals as well. So, I mean, yeah, we've got a lot of goals to choose from this season. Yeah, so let's see what we all decided for goal of the season. So, yeah, I've actually gone for probably, to be honest, a player that could be considered as one of the flops of the season as well. I've gone for Lazaro's famous back-heel volley away against Leverkusen in Gladbach's 4-3 defeat. I mean, what a goal that was. I mean, I think it was the only good thing he did the whole season, let's be honest. I mean, the guy was dreadful for most of the season, but I mean, what a goal that was. I mean, back heel volley into the top corner. I mean, you're not saving that, are you, if you're the goalkeeper? So, yeah. And what about you, Rory? What did you go for that?
Well, I may have picked that particular goal myself, but I did have backups, so I'm going to use one of my backups. So I'm going to go with Yusuf Paulsen's strike against Augsburg. It was an over the shoulder volley, first time. He's on basically the corner of the penalty box, and he'd just come on as a sub. So it's his first touch of the game, clean hit straight away into the top bins of the far corner. So for me, from technique, style, not something that I necessarily thought Paulsen even had in his locker. What a hit. So I'll use that as my goal of the season. I hope that I haven't stole it from anyone else.
Yeah, so over to you, Colin.
You know, I'd written down 2 goals, and it was Lazaro and Paulsen. I was the first one when he said Lazaro, and then when I went over to Rory, he was like, I'd put down an alternative, and then he said that. So, I mean, I had to watch a video on YouTube to actually remind me of the goals that had happened this season. And I saw those. It was like a few months ago. It was like the best goals from each team so far, and I saw both of those. But I remember the Lazaro one, that being the one I particularly pointed out. That scorpion kick, it didn't really mean much in terms of the actual game. It was just a consolation at the end, but just the game in general was brilliant. I remember it being so entertaining. Leverkusen and Gladbach at the time. End to end, 4-3. Both sides at that point seemed to be having better seasons than it turned out. They sort of declined slightly, particularly Leverkusen. But it was a great end to a great game. As you say, not a brilliant season from Lazaro, but he will always be remembered, I think, at Gladbach for that goal.
Yeah. And what about you, Roy? Any other ideas?
Yeah, I managed to get a different one. A couple of honourable mentions, I'd say, for Maximilian Philipp, just 2 match days ago against Leipzig. That was outstanding for one of his goals. And Andre Duda against Augsburg was a really great hit. But mine, and I thought this would have been said, so that's why I had 2 backups, was Erling Haaland's overhead kick against Schalke in the Revier Derby. I just thought the technique, the ball in from Sancho as well. All of it was fantastic, and scoring that goal against Schalke, the arch rivals as well. I don't think you can get much better than that as a Dortmund player, and I think that was Haaland's shining light of the season. So go for Haaland against Schalke.
Yeah, well, I mean, hard to disagree with any of those. I also had written down Patrick Schick's goal against Bayern. Real clean volley, obviously not from a great distance, but again, the technique to hit it first time and to keep it down as well. I thought that was a great hit. So to finish off, we've got two more comedic, I suppose, awards. So the first one I'll lead off with is Blooper or Mistake of the Season. And I'm sure there were plenty of candidates, certainly from the goalkeeping point of view. But the one that stands out for me is Robin Zentner's awful pass straight to an opposition player in the shape of Niederlechner when they were playing Augsburg, who then in turn passed it straight to Hahn for them to score into an empty net. And the game actually finished 1-0, so it did cost Mainz all 3 points at a time when Mainz were starting to bounce back, so it was quite untimely as well. So yeah, that, I mean, it was a pure clanger. Keepers playing out from the back for me is just heart in mouth sort of stuff all the time. So yeah, that's my pick. So straight on to you, Mark. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, mine's also going to be a goalkeeper-related one. It's got to be Lukas Hradecky against Arminia Bielefeld. Obviously, the Leverkusen goalkeeper, Hradecky. I mean, it was a game, I remember it was Leverkusen were completely dominating the game. They were 1-0 ahead. Bielefeld had done absolutely nothing in that game. Then the fullback just kind of passed it in the direction of the goalkeeper. He scuffed the ball, and it literally went into the back of his own net. And to make things worse, if he'd just left it, it would have gone out for a corner as well. So like his scuff, literally it came off the side of his boot into the back of the net. I mean, that was an absolute horror show. Then at the end of the game, I remember he was interviewed and he just said he didn't care, basically, which kind of added insult to injury for the Leverkusen fans, really. But yeah, not a good season for goalkeepers. And that was another howler in my eyes.
Good stuff. Over to you, Colin. Again, hopefully we haven't stolen your pick on this occasion.
Not this time. I've gone for something a bit different. So I've dropped down to the Zweite Bundesliga, if that's possible.
Okay,
and I've gone I think Roy knows what I'm going to say here. The final match day. Match day of the own goal from Aristote and Kaka. So it was Würzburger kickers against Paderborn. An already relegated Würzburg, might add, and Paderborn's goalkeeper Leopold Zingerler was dribbling the ball near the corner flag and closed down by the Würzburg attacker and lost the ball. And the Würzburg player crossed the ball into the box, and it was headed into his own goal by Nkaka for an own goal from Paderborn. So that's mine. Just honourable mentions up to the top flight. Gone for probably the entire Schalke season was a bit of a mistake. And Werder Bremen as well, just the way they dealt the coaching scenario near the end, where they stuck by Kofeld and then they decided to sack him with one game to go, and then it just never did anything. I mean, it was just indecisive and panicking basically. So I've gone for those.
Good stuff. Obviously, you can see below a comment that's come in. Very good one as well for the Leverkusen subkeeper who came in for that game against Augsburg on his debut, I think it was. So yeah, interesting shout there. Roy, what's your pick?
Well, I thought I was going to be smart and choose the Würzburg goal as well. So that the only two I came up with was the Würzburg goal coming out with Nkaka scoring the own goal. Absolute golden goal, if you want to call it that. But then obviously I think it was obviously mentioned by Mark as well, was the Hradecky kicking in his own net, just fluffing it into his own net as well. So apologies though for another one. I thought I was being fun with the Würzburg one as well, but clearly me and Colin think alike, as you two have found out so far as well.
Yeah, good stuff. Another one that, I mean, I was going to put it down, but it's not necessarily a blooper. It's more of a moment of madness or funny one. Was it Octavio's red card against? I can't remember. Hoffenheim. Yeah, the scissor tackle. It just makes me laugh. It just makes me laugh, actually. To be honest, but that was a good one. So we've got one more, which Mark will take us through then.
Yeah, so another kind of negative one, which is obviously the flop of the year as well. So this has got to be the player who maybe some people had a kind of thought was going to be better than he was, but he basically turned out to be a load of garbage in our opinion. So I'll kick this one off. Actually, some people might be surprised at this, but I've actually gone for Patrick Schick. I mean, in my opinion, he came in with I had really high hopes for him actually coming in. Obviously, signed permanently from Roma after a really, really good loan spell at Leipzig. He never really was first team for Leipzig, but he still managed like 10 goals in 20 games on loan for Leipzig. But then for me, he had a good start, but he just never really kicked on after that. And he only ended up with 9 goals. And I think, to be honest, for the kind of price tag they paid for him, they paid about 25 million euros, which is a lot of cash for a Bundesliga team. And I just think 9 goals in a league when the likes of Kramaric have got 20, Weghorst got 20. I think it's not a great turnout for me. There probably were worse players this season, but for me, he was definitely a flop. So what about you, Rory?
Again, this might be contentious, but this wasn't necessarily a flop. It was more of a disappointment. And probably the most high-profile signing of the season, in the shape of Leroy Sané. Did have a difficult start to life at Bayern. He was being chased by them for a good few seasons. There was no kind of secret that he wanted away and Bayern wanted him. It finally happened, and it didn't quite get going. Quite often he was used as a sub, quite underwhelmingly as well. I think on a few occasions he was subbed as a sub, which is kind of like obviously the ultimate insult, isn't it? Coming on as a sub and then you get, hauled off again. But as the season went on, probably the last third of the season, he did actually come in to show his real class. But I think going forward to next season, he'll really want to press on. But not a flop, but a disappointment for me was Leroy Sané. Who's next, Mark?
Sorry. I was looking at some of the interesting comments.
Yeah.
Good live feed going on there. Yeah. So what about you, Colin? Yeah. What about your flop of the year?
So for me, I was going to go with Shkodran Mustafi. So he came in January. He didn't exactly have the best time of it at Arsenal, but he came in to the Schalke side, a player with pedigree, a world champion. You thought he might improve their defence slightly, but it didn't really happen. I mean, he was 2 weeks in the door, and there was reports of him being one of the leading players trying to get the coach sacked, Christian Gross. So he seemed to have quite a destructive effect. Remember him scoring an own goal as well. But another one I thought of earlier today, who I think's been very disappointing, has been Alexander Zurlot, particularly with the money spent for him. If transfer marked is correct, it was the equivalent of £18 million that they spent on him. They've only got 5 goals in 29 games from him. And I mean, it has been his first season in the Bundesliga. He scored lots of goals in Turkey, which obviously isn't at the same level. But with him being, I mean, he was the main replacement for Timo Werner. It's just really not worked out. You could say the same about Hwang, even more so probably. He's not really had much of a look in. Zurlot, at least in patches, has performed, but just for the money spent on him so far, he's just not delivered.
Yeah, absolutely agree on most of those suggestions. Yeah, and what about you, Roy? How would you finish us off?
I got a couple of suggestions myself. I think Emmanuel Dennis came in, and everyone assumed he was going to be scoring goals for Köln. Went missing. Mark Roca, I think it's kind of harsh to include him, so that's why I'm not saying him as my player, but I think he only managed 11 games and not many in the Bundesliga, coming in from Real Sociedad to Bayern, and I just don't think he really adds anything to Bayern, and I think he might be one of the signings that's been missed. Tally Chong, if anyone remembers him at Bremen at the start of the season, I thought
Man United represent.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't want to disrespect Man United, but just
shocking player. Let's be honest.
Yeah, no, terrible. And I don't know how well he got on in Belgium afterwards, because his performances at Bremen didn't inspire me to go watch him afterwards. But mine, don't know if it's quite controversial. I don't know if it's just my opinion, but I think Thomas Mueller has been really disappointing at Dortmund.
Yeah.
I know it's difficult having to fulfill Ashraf Hakimi's from last season, but for me, Mueller, he'd only managed just over 20 appearances for Dortmund. He got shown out. I think Piszczek would have been better starting all season than him. I think he's been found out as he kind of rode his luck at PSG and a really good team for a long time, and now he's at Dortmund and he kind of needs to perform better. I just don't think he has, and I think he made a mistake in was it a Super Cup final right at the start of the season, and it just kind of set him up. So for me, Thomas Mueller just wasn't good enough.
Yeah, I think a lot of Dortmund fans were pretty cheesed off with his performances as well. Like, obviously, I think, we know a few Dortmund fans, and they were like baying for his blood, basically. Yeah, they want him out, a lot of them, I think. Yeah,
it didn't cost him anything either, which doesn't make any better. He was free, but it just he still wasn't even worth it for me.
Yeah, I thought it was a great signing in the summer. I thought, this guy's going to be awesome for them, but because I thought he was quite good for PSG, but he was hapless, really, wasn't he? He was useless, really.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, that brings a close to the actual awards evening. Just before we finish up completely, because we've still got a few people on the chat, which is brilliant. We've had lots of engagement tonight. Obviously, just pop a few bits up on the screen there. So we've got someone who's come over from your podcast tonight, actually. So Jack Graham watching this show for the first time. So it's great to see Jack on the show. So welcome to the Bundesliga Show, Jack. Hope you enjoyed tonight, and we hope to see you along on the show more often. We've had some really positive comments about you two boys, Roy and Colin, and a few of our regulars who hopefully will check you guys out in the future as well. So that's really encouraging. So we should hopefully get a few more collabs like this in the future, certainly into the new season for sure. Just before we finish, though, as we happen to have a Cologne sympathiser / supporter with us, it would be wrong of me, whilst we're live, not to maybe hand over to Roy and just maybe have a few minutes or a few seconds to quickly chat about tomorrow's first leg and obviously big game with regards to the playoff match in the Bundesliga against Holstein Kiel. So, Roy, what do you reckon?
Oh no, it's a game that I don't think anyone who has this love for FC Köln wants to happen. I think personally, and I'd actually changed my mind after watching the last match day of the Zweite Liga when I watched the conference. I wanted Fürth. I thought Köln have a better chance of beating Fürth than they would have beaten Kiel. But after watching Kiel's performance against Darmstadt, there's something about them that they just... We mentioned a couple of times before that they've just kept going, considering all the COVID restrictions they had, all the games they had to play, they were mounting up. I think they looked absolutely knackered against Darmstadt at the end. And even though they put everything forward and they scored a late goal, just something about them, just for me, over two legs, I don't back Kiel at all. Not that I back Köln to do anything special. I think they'll grind their way through it and they'll just get through it. But I think Kiel might have just rode out be out of steam, basically, which is a shame because out of the three teams that are going up, I would have loved to see the three teams are at the top of this Zweite Liga. I'd have loved to see Kiel go up. I think it'd be nice to see a different North team head in the Bundesliga. But for me, I think with my head saying is Köln will probably win over two games. It might be tricky, but especially the Rhein Energie. Tomorrow evening, I think it's a 5:30 in the UK, 6:30 before the Europa League final. So if you're getting into the Europa League final tomorrow, get the relegation game on beforehand.
Certainly we'll be doing that, absolutely. That nicely brings us to a close. We won't go on for too much longer, 45 minutes, probably about our limit. Just actually got one question that's come in from John Fleming on the live chat. So he's asked which side are we most excited to see out of the promoted sides next season. So we'll pass that over to our guests, I think. So Colin, obviously we've got Bochum and Fürth definitely up next season, potentially Holstein Kiel. We'll have to see. Who are you picking out of those?
It's quite strange because usually there's at least one very big club that comes down, maybe a side that's been relegated the previous season, similar to Stuttgart last year. But this season it's a bit different, that it's smaller sides that haven't been up for a while I mean, Bochum haven't been up for over a decade now.
Yeah.
And I think they are a big club and they have a big support. And it's been missing from the Bundesliga. I think that they are the longest serving Zweite club. So they have been down there for quite a while. And once fans do get back in the stadiums, it'll be a welcome sight seeing fans in the stadium at the Ruhrstadion and the Bundesliga. And obviously, now that we're missing a Ruhr derby, then it'll be good to see them against Dortmund instead of Schalke. So as a famous atmosphere, and in my time watching German football, because it has been such a long time, we've not seen Bochum in the Bundesliga, so that'd be something I'd like to see.
Roy, are you looking forward to seeing Kiel in the Bundesliga next season? Or,
No. I would really like, as much as I'd like to keep FC in the Bundesliga, I'd love to see Kiel. I think just for the fact I mentioned that there were no teams from the north, and if they don't overcome FC tomorrow and Saturday, the second leg as well, I think it'd be nice to see a north team up there, but Bochum, like Colin said, they're a really exciting team to watch this season. They kind of fell away the last couple of match days, so I don't think they're getting as much recognition as they should for being champions. I thought they were brilliant all season, really attacking, nice play from Rice's team, and there's a couple of really cool players I'd love to see actually get a chance in the Bundesliga, like Danny Blum and Zurich, for instance. I'd love to see them in the Bundesliga. So I think players-wise, Bochum would be really interesting to see some of those players. Riemann in goal, he'll be a terrific goalkeeper, I think, hopefully next season. So I'd love to see Bochum's team and probably Bochum as well.
Good stuff. Well, that brings a close again to the show. So yeah, we'll finish off there. Thanks everyone for commenting and jumping on to the live chat tonight. We've had a really good show. Our special thanks to Roy and Colin. Thank you both for giving up your time. Obviously, it's well into the evening there in Germany, and obviously always thank you to Mark for giving up your time as well. Can't say that without saying thanks to Mark. But yeah, thanks you both. Obviously, I think you guys said you were doing something with regards to your podcast and with the Spy Bundesliga podcast as well with regards to the playoff place. Do you want to plug that in just before we finish?
Yeah, I'm not sure when it's going to come out, but we're recording with Matthew and Eva on Friday morning to help Matthew with the time difference over in Australia. So we're going to do both legs. On the Zweite Bundesliga podcast and one on the German Fitbaw Podcast the following week. So it should be an exciting time to chat about the both relegation games from the Bundesliga and the Zweite one between Osnabrück and Ingolstadt as well. So that'll be interesting.
Good stuff. So yeah, that brings a close to the show. Thank you again to Roy and Colin. Also, you can follow them both on Twitter, and of course the German Fitbaw Podcast is on Twitter, and you can obviously subscribe to that on Apple Podcasts and all good audio platforms. Over to you, Mark, to just close up the show.
Okay, yeah, so obviously it's been another great show. Let's just remember to check out our Twitter @OverTheBarFB so you can see just about everything that we do here on the site. Remember, we're not only a Bundesliga site as well, like that's just part of the site. We also do League One in the UK, led by our own Rochdale expert Dave Pearson over in the UK. We got articles on just about everything football related. I think today we released one on League 1 and the kind of title race over there, which was obviously won against all odds by Lille. So yeah, check out that. And obviously our main site, which is otbfootball.net, where you can see just about everything, links to our YouTube and everything. So thanks again to Colin and Rory. It was a pleasure to have you on the show. We hope to see you again next year as well. Obviously, we hope that Cologne are in the Bundesliga anyway. Yeah, so best of luck for that one tomorrow. And yeah, see you guys next time.
Cheers all.
Yeah, cheers for having us on, lads.
Cheers.